Let me get your thoughts on really the consequences. What then are the major consequences of drilling in Anwar? I was reading a piece earlier that said, look, it will impact the breeding of caribou, the breeding of polar bears. Give me your sense. What are the consequences?
Well, let's look at lessons learned over the last 30 years when the Trans-Alaska oil pipeline was finally allowed to be built, and there were the threats then and the fears that the caribou herds would diminish and die off. And no, the caribou herds are actually thriving. They're flourishing. There have not been the adverse impacts on the caribou herd. So we anticipate the same thing as we tap more energy supplies up on the North Slope and Anwar, and as we build a natural gas pipeline also that's underway at this point. When you consider the naysayers, the kind of the fear-mongers 30 years ago before the Trans-Alaska oil pipeline was built, and remember that pipeline has supplied 15 billion barrels of oil into our domestic supplies here in America. And by the way, Joe Biden was one who voted against that Trans-Alaska oil pipeline 30 years ago. He was fearful of allowing ramped up domestic supplies of energy even then. So, of course, I fear that if he's of the same mind today, we're in a world of hurt there. But no.
How will you do that? How will you protect Alaskans' homes, their environment? What are you thinking as we approach this debate where on the one side people say drill, drill, drill. On the other side, people are saying, look, we need to keep this area pristine.
Well, and we need to drill, 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 though. Otherwise, I cannot believe that a domestic solution is any part of a national energy policy if they're not going to let Alaskans drill on our own lands and on federal lands within our own state. And if a domestic solution isn't part of a national energy plan, then our nation is in a world of hurt. We're going to continue to be reliant on foreign dangerous regimes to feed our hungry markets. I find it ironic and I find it nonsensical that here we send Secretary Bodman, we even send our own president overseas to negotiate with the Saudis, to ask the Saudis ramp up oil production for us in America, when again, absolute nonsense, because Alaska has those resources already and we should be tapping these American supplies before we go over to the Saudis and ask them to do so. So very significant. And we have lacked a national energy policy also. We have not had a plan. Alaska should be a leader in this plan because we have the conventional, the non-renewable supplies, the petroleum. We have them up here. Again, the hundreds of trillions of cubic feet of clean natural gas, the billions of barrels of oil. We also have the renewables also. We have the largest tides on the continent. We have the geothermal. We have the winds. We have all these alternative renewable sources that also can be tapped into as we work collectively and comprehensively on an energy plan.
So as a nation, we need to be doing everything.
We need to be doing everything, and people need to be realistic also. And this is also what kind of scares me about Biden and Obama also is it seems to be almost a naive notion of theirs that we can just automatically jump right into a renewable supply of energy to feed hungry markets across our nation when these renewables are not yet proven to be economic nor reliable. We're going to be in a transition period for quite some time where we're going to have to continue to be reliant on conventional sources of energy as we're working on the renewables, and we certainly have to head in that direction also, but it's got to be doing everything that we can to allow the domestic supplies, renewable and non-renewable, to be tapped, solutions plugged in from both those ends, and not just skip the oil and the gas developments and the coal development also that we have to have as part of a comprehensive plan. It's naive to think that we can go right to renewables and think that that's ever going to work for our nation.